album recommendations, Duncan. Was May as strong a month as April?
I'm going to say it was a month or two halves, Dave.
Well, this is true. This is true.
I don't necessarily think it was as strong, but at the same time, I also want to say that some releases have been delayed from their original kind of release schedule, which I think may have had an impact. I also think, in general, this month was a heavier month, if that makes any sense. It just felt like I was struggling to find those little pockets of ambience in the releases. Everyone just seemed to be, it's almost as if the releases were mirroring the vibe of the world, just unrelenting and brutal. So
Yep. Yeah, I would.
but there was still some albums that I would say caught me pleasantly surprised.
True that. I felt like April I had to remove a lot of albums from my list to talk about in the podcast because there was so many. But with me, I just had a nice amount. Like I just had, yep, that's my albums. Quite happy with that.
Manageable amount for a podcast.
Exactly. So I'm going to kick us off with an old favourite.
Dear.
Paradise Lost, Duncan.
Yes, like another one where this just kind of blindsided me. I'm obviously not checking out websites enough because I did not know they had anything like slated for this year.
Yeah. They are like a goddamn fine wine, Duncan. This is true. This could be one of their best albums. It's amazing. It really is. And I love Paradise Lost, and I loved the last album. But this is definitely more varied than their last album, which was Medusa. It was a kind of slower, heavier affair for the most part. But this album, Obsidian, it kind of takes some of those slow, heavy moments, the kind of gruesome moments, but it combines them with some amazing melodies. The album is just a great balance between kind of grit and kind of gothic atmosphere. And what amazes me the most is after 16 albums, these guys are still putting out stuff of this level and are still evolving. Like, it just blows my mind. The album's called Obsidian. If you're a fan of that kind of gothic metal kind of sound, then check this out. Paradise Lost are a band that are just fucking doing great things, to be honest. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I also checked it out, and I have to kind of agree in terms of like the melodies. They're a band that I feel at times, like over time, have kind of really got comfortable with experimenting with their melodies, and once again, like we are being like spoiled this year for albums that just contain huge scope of like incredible melodies that as a former frontman had these sorts of tracks been around when I was starting, I would have just told you, Dave, I am just sticking to the keyboard. No, it's a really, really, really well written, crafted album, and production is fucking the tits as well. Just really, really clear. And blindsided me. I've listened to it a few times. The album artwork as well. I mean, just everything about it is really, really good. There's a track in it called Ravengast. I had to just jump on there to double check. It's towards the end, and it has been played, according to my iTunes, 7 times since the album came out. So that's usually a good sign that I am listening to something more than I should be when there are other things to listen to. Yeah, it's great. People should be checking it out. Can I take us in a different direction?
Yeah, go for it.
Hand it over my metal card right now, and you can take it away from me for good. Petals for Armour by Hayley Williams, frontwoman of Paramore.
What is wrong with you?
This is a fucking great release. An absolutely great release. I'd heard a single, I think, a while ago when she was kind of floating the idea of doing a solo project, which is usually indication of I am the real person in this band that people buy for, so fuck the lotties, I want all the cash. It's usually how solo things work. And so I was intrigued, to say the least. And because I've been working from home a lot recently, the old kind of Kerrang radio has been playing in the background. And I will say I don't recommend listening to Kerrang radio unless you want to be perpetually stuck in the years 1999 to 2003, because that's literally, they just keep looping songs from that. Yeah, a lot of fucking chocolate starfish and a hot dog flavored water, if you know what I mean. But they've been playing bits and bobs, and like the more we're playing it, more like, I'm gonna check this when it comes out. I really like it. I wouldn't say it's not top tier sort of stuff. It's not. I don't even necessarily think it's as good as the best of kind of Paramore, like overall. And I'm fully aware that people are looking at the disgust at their device right now. I've seen Paramore live twice, and they were fucking brilliant both times.
So I take it this is I've not listened to this, but I take it's a more kind of poppy affair compared to Paramore.
Yeah, there's moments of kind of indie on there as well. To be honest, it's not all just kind of like pop. Like I think she's an incredible vocalist. And I've enjoyed their transition. I know you haven't as much. Their transition into the more popular side, because like there were elements where I felt she was being restricted on certain tracks earlier on because they were trying to be emo or whatever qualifier we can put against them. But yeah, there are definitely elements of pop in there, but there are definitely elements of kind of like indie rock and different. There's a lot of tone. There's a lot of kind of tonal changes in it that I appreciate. I think it's really good. As once again, it's a one that came out at the start of the month, and I've listened to like more times than I probably should admit on a recording, which will be, served up for people to cast back at me. But yeah, very easy to listen to, incredibly easy to listen to, and has been spun many times. And if you have a passing interest in the front woman as Hayley Williams, then yeah, check it out. I think, like I say, I'd be interested to see if it has much of an effect when she goes back to doing the Paramore stuff, because you tend to find that when you do a solo release and you come back, things change a little bit. We'll see if it has any impact, and we'll maybe actually find out where the driving force for a lot of those changes in the band's sound have been coming from. That may have been coming from her, and this might be a way to exercise it. And they might go back to something a bit more aggressive, as aggressive as a band like that can get. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Petals for Armour. Hayley Williams came out at the start of the month. Check it out.
Nice. Okay.
You sound so disappointed.
I'm gonna up the heaviness a bit, Duncan, because that was just pitiful. What would you get if you took members of Converge, members of the Red Chord, members of Hatebreed, members of Twitching Tongues, and members of Job for a Cowboy, Duncan?
You would have an expensive bar bill.
You would?
A trashed hotel room.
You would get a new band called Umbra Vitae. That's right. The members of these bands have created a new band called Umbra Vitae. They've just released a new album called Shadow of Life. Yeah, it's a tad heavy. Just putting that out there. I'd say predominantly a death metal band at their core, but they definitely pull elements from the other bands they're in into the overall sound. So whilst it's kind of technically similar to death metal in a lot of ways, it also has moments where it goes into hardcore territory or like power violence, or they drop in some kind of huge, kind of murky sludge riffs. The vocalist is Jacob Bannon from Converge. And if you've heard Converge, he is a visceral vocalist. And he sounds amazing on this album. He just makes the whole thing sound more hostile, if that's possible. which I loved, obviously. And when you had in like John Rice from Job for a Cowboy on drums, well, you can imagine how savage that is going to sound. Cracking release. I do think it's probably one of my picks of the month. Umbra Vitae is the band, and Shadow of Life is the new album. Check that one out if you're into those bands or those kind of styles.
Boom, just like that. Well, let's talk about this one because they're doing it for charity, and I think that's very nice of them. So I'm assuming they're doing it for charity because charity's in the title. Killswitch Engage released Atonement 2 B-sides for charity. EP contains, it's a fucking super quick listen. I don't know if these are necessarily B-sides of more recent times or these are B-sides stemming back, several years. Killswitch are a really weird one, like in that I remember when they first kind of broke out as these are the new wave of American heavy metal. And I kind of got on board, and then they replaced Jesse with Howard, and originally I was skeptical, Dave. I threw up a skeptical eyebrow. I was like, how dare you replace this front man? And then, fell in love with Howard, and then everyone was really excited when Howard left and Jesse came back, and I couldn't give two fucks. And I've kind of dipped in and out. They're not a band that I necessarily, whenever they release something, I'll give it the once over. I seldom go back for any more listens. This is a cool EP. Once again, if these are B-sides, which I reckon they probably are, you can see why they haven't made like a full album. That being said, there's some cool licks on this one. This to me sounds more like, the reason I was kind of confused about the time frame of when these songs were written is at times there are shades here of their older stuff, which I thought was quite interesting. Some melodies that I really enjoyed as well. And yeah, if this is for charity, then give it a listen, and maybe Spotify will kick whatever share of revenue Spotify do, or iTunes, or whoever you're checking it out from. Give it a whirl, because it appears to be for a good cause, and Killswitch Engage are still alive and kicking, which alive or just breathing, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
hi-oh. Did you check it out?
I did check it out. It was alright.
Yeah. Are you like me? Have you kind of went off them? Remember when they were like the band for a wee while?
I'm a Howard Jones guy. I know everyone like hangs off Jesse's cock, but
is it that big?
it's not fair. The end of Heartache for me is like the best Killswitch album, and I know people will disagree with that, but for me, Howard Jones is just a far better vocalist. Not that Jesse's a bad vocalist by any means, but I much preferred Howard Jones. This Atonement 2 thing, I had to listen to it, but I'll probably not go back to it, if I'm honest. Sorry.
Don't apologise to me. I was telling people to give it a listen to for its charity purposes. You just basically told their charity to fuck off, Dave. That's fine.
Sorry about that. Give it to charity, people. Check out that release.
Once.
What else? I've been listening to a new band called Fall. Never heard of them until a couple of weeks ago. They're a 4-piece band from Kentucky, and they are primarily a hardcore band, but this might interest you. They do have a little bit of a Every Time I Die swagger about them.
Don't you fucking dropping heavy keywords so early in a show. What is going on here, Dave?
Yeah, both kind of riff-wise and vocally, there are little hints of ETID. Probably more the old Every Time I Die than newer stuff. But they do have some nice kind of melodic hardcore moments in there as well. Reminds me of Shai Hulud a lot.
Oh, nice.
And they do, there's even wee little kind of hints of metalcore in as well. Kind of sound a little like, what was the band back in the day? Johnny Booth. They kind of toe that line between hardcore and metalcore. A lot of good ideas, really cool production, very punchy. There's a lot of the kind of big moments that land really well because of the punchy production. Check it out. A band are called Fall, and the album is called Messiahs.
That's how you
Boom.
do it, Dave.
Yeah.
I will promote this because it's only a matter of time before you promote it, and then we'll never get you to stop talking about it. Since the last time we recorded, ladies and gents, a little double hitter of Piss and Razors has dropped. And to say that the conversation was all about Fields of Disbelief 2 weeks ago would be an understatement, because I think between me and you, that album may have been played to exhaustion in the day on Friday, just like on repeat. It is like time has been so kind to that fucking album, man. It is absolutely amazing. Like everything, like all the riffs. And what was weird about it is the first time I'd listened to it in a while, and like as I was listening, all the riffs just came back to me. All right, never moving to this. Oh, never moving to this. Oh, just such a fucking incredible album. So good. So yeah, if you have never listened to Piss and Razors and you think that me and Dave have been pulling your chain, as we will have want to do from time to time on these recordings, and you are thinking about maybe now is the time to dip a toe. Fields of Disbelief, get on it, man. It rewards you tenfold.
It's so fucking good. It is so fucking good. And I forgot how good it was, actually.
So just flawless. Like every single song is amazing.
I know. I've got it on physical release. I've got a CD, but like, who the fuck plays CDs? I haven't even got a CD player in my car anymore. It's like, how do I play this shit? So like, when it landed on Spotify, I was just like, oh my god. Like, I don't know how the servers at Spotify coped that day, because I was just like every device just playing it everywhere I went. So good. Such a good album.
It's incredible. It's incredible. While we're talking about good albums, and we've already kind of plugged them, but we should probably lean back into we reviewed last month Bloodletting, now available from Mountaineer. We also reviewed Caligula's Horse's new album, which his name escapes me. Dave, help me.
Rise Radiant.
Yeah, it's also available. Check that one out. Shabalba is available. Check it out. Those are ones we've covered. I do want to throw this back to you, Dave, because you swung out two cheeky little recommendations to me of two albums which are fucking great. Like, surprise, surprise. And I think if they're not on your list, I actually don't even know if they were released. Hopefully they were released in May. If they're not, let's shine a spotlight on them anyway. Binary Code and Synthesia? Maybe?
City of Souls is the band. Synesthesia is the
name of the album, isn't it? Synesthesia. City of Souls. Oh, right. So kick off with Binary Code. How the fuck did you stumble across these guys?
No idea. I think they were on Spotify. I've got this, is it Release Radar, a playlist that Spotify create, and they add songs to this playlist based on other bands that you like. And it was just a track on there. I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. Clicked on it, and they had a new album out in May. I was like, oh, here we go, Binary Code, Memento Mori, the album was called. I was like, oh, how have I never heard of this band? What is going on? They're from New Jersey, I think. And they've just released this new album, and as Duncan says, it is fucking amazing.
It's really, 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 really good. Like, I could see, like, occasionally you'll be like, you'll drop me a message. We have a WhatsApp chat, guys, because we are modern, hip, and with it. And it's a combination of memes that are not allowed to be explained, like on here, otherwise we'll be ripped from the internet. And usually screen grabs of what we're listening to. And it will usually have a comment underneath it saying something like, you'd like this, or don't know why I like this, ? But yeah, like, you swung this to me, and I was like, yeah. And generally, Dave will swing a couple my way, and I'll put them off for a couple of days, because I'm like, I'll get around to it, Dave. I'll add it to the list. And this was one that I checked out. I must have had a break or something when it came through. Checked it out straight away. Played it twice back to back. It's a fucking stunning little album from a band that like you said, never heard of them before. Not like from the name Binary Code, I was expecting something a bit more industrial.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the artwork is not necessarily something that gives a good indication to the sound, but it's very varied, very well written, and very well produced. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, they're hard band to kind of pigeonhole as well. Like I was trying to think, like what would I even classify this as? And it's definitely metal, but there's kind of progressive moments on it. There's kind of alternative moments on it. I was hearing like bits of like Catatonia in there, like newer Catatonia, even like bits of like the Contortionist at times as well. Paradise Lost, little elements in there. It's a right mix of stuff, but huge riffs and huge kind of melodies to go with it. As you said, I listened to it like about 5 times, and every time I got sucked right into it. It's a very immersive album, loads of depth, loads of atmosphere to it, just stunning back to front, front to back even.
Just do it back to front. Listen to the last song first and then what you're about. Don't do what the man tells you to do. We're in lockdown. You just said time doesn't mean anything, Dave, so listen to it back to front.
Fuck it. Let's listen to it back to front. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, loved it. The other one that I mentioned were City of Souls.
Oh man, the production on this, by the way, gave me the biggest fucking erection ever. By the way, oh, so well produced, so well written.
This is a debut. This is a debut album.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell!
It's ridiculous. They're from New Zealand, I think. And they're kind of proggy elements, alternative a bit in there as well. But as a debut, it's seriously good. As I said, a lot of kind of, again, another band that are quite hard to pigeonhole, but progressive moments, but balanced out quite nicely with a more kind of alternative feel. There was a wee touch of new metal in there at times as well.
I think it's the nature of the beast, Dave. In 2020, you have musicians who were probably growing up listening to their parents listening to new metal.
Dear. Yeah. Don't let that put you off, but
because new metal's awesome, and don't ever disrespect it again, Dave.
But definitely check it out. I don't even know who they would remind me of. That maybe a little bit of another Australian band, Dead Letter Circus, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bits of that in there, even little Tesseract moments as well.
Yeah, the prog kind of side of things is not offensive though. You know what I mean? Very very similar to when we were talking about Caligula's Horse, which actually the two albums pair up really well together in that, you know, one is decisively more heavy than the other, but in terms of sporadic odysseys of music, they're both excellent, and you know, from the same hemisphere of the world. But it's just a really well crafted. I'm surprised you're telling me that's their first album, because I would have put down a cold hard cash that this was like maybe a third or fourth album in. There's just a confidence, there's a swagger about it that just feels like so self-assured for a debut. You know what I mean? Like, if there is a misstep here in terms of a track which they would class as a filler, I don't hear it. I just heard like an incredibly crafted album. I thought it was great.
Yep, loved it. City of Souls and Synesthesia is the album worth checking out. I also checked out the new Bear album.
It's really good as well.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to hearing it. We've mentioned Bear on the podcast before, and I'm sure we reviewed stuff of theirs like years ago on Rock and Reel. So I was quite keen to hear this. It didn't disappoint at all. It's a great mix of like progressive metal, bits of hardcore in there, but and vocal melodies that are just so well executed. I think I remember them being more techy before.
I think they've toned it back for this release. Like I have a distinct recollection of, and I don't know if it was just the nature of the beast of the time, but Bear being like coming out around that time of all that tech metal boom that seemed to be coming out, and we were getting bands from everywhere where if the guitars weren't like Dillinger meets fucking some other band, like Dillinger meets Dream Theater, if it wasn't like some weird sort of fucking bastardized child of that, then you weren't really a metal band. and I remember them being far more techie based.
Yeah.
And that to me, like I said before, sometimes that sort of thing is to the detriment of a really well written song. It's almost showing the ostentatious nature of how you can write music, which if you're a musician is bitching, but to the casual person, scrolling through to find a new band to fall in love with, it can sometimes be a bit abrasive and off-putting. This album, Propaganda, is just once again, I'm going to be using this phrase a lot tonight, I think. Just a really well written album. It feels like a lot of thoughts went into even song placement.
Yep.
And it fucking flies in. I mean, it's like 12 songs, 40 minutes, like wall to wall, just in and out. Does what it needs, and the vocal melodies are the tits as well. So yeah, really
so infectious. Vocal melodies really infectious. Big kind of dissonant kind of riffs. I think. Trying to think, it's there's little elements. Obviously, Meshuggah in there. There's little elements of that in there. On the hardcore side, maybe Norma Jean or something like that. Vocally, he's a cracking vocalist. I don't know. There's a kind of like Gojira meets Chimera or something like that. There's really memorable, really Moorish kind of melodies. It was a very head-bangable album. Is that? I don't know if that's
what it's coined now, Dave. As soon as you say it, it's real. That's how words work.
Really dug it though. Yeah, Bear Propaganda. The name of the album is worth checking that one out if you haven't heard that yet. I've got one more. You got any more?
I've got two.
Oh, go for it. You tell me.
Right. So Crossfaith have released a new EP. It is if you're a fan of Crossfaith. To be honest, I kind of was and then dipped out on them, and I've kind of returned to them off the back of this new EP, and went back and actually appreciated the previous album, which I hadn't been much a fan of at all. It's following in suit. Certainly seems like they're not a band that want to change that much, nor should they really have to. It's like another one of these ones which is a very quick listen, and it's an EP which is under 20 minutes long, and I don't know if this is them just putting out something as a precursor to a new album and to kick off like a new push, or if this is like the mechanism that a lot of bands are doing these days, in that they're like, it's too expensive to do albums and we want to get out on the road and we want to try and disassociate ourselves from the labels that we are with. An easy way to do that is just do EPs. But it's a good listen. Like I say, I'm not the biggest Crossfaith fan. I liked him a while ago. Coming back to him, I enjoyed this. It's like literally hot off the press though. It came out this week. It came out Friday, I think. It's called Species, and yeah, check it out if you've got the time and you have 20 minutes, ladies and gents. Give a bit of love to Crossfaith.
Nice. I've still to check out. I heard one of the tracks, added it to our playlist on Spotify, but I've still to check out the rest of the EP. But I like the sound of the track though.
Yep.
Sounds cool. My last one is do you know who does good death metal, Duncan?
This is not where I thought you were going on your last one. Like at all. I thought you were going to play forth your shame card, Dave.
No, I wasn't even going to mention it.
I thought you were going to play. You just going to leave me hanging out there with Hayley Williams, aye?
That's our WhatsApp chat.
Hashtag
How dare you bring that up?
Hashtag weak game, bro.
Yeah, alright, okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the album, but I have listened to it a few times. Talking about the new Asking Alexandria.
I'm not going to disagree with you. It's incredibly Moorish.
Yeah, I feel a wee bit ashamed saying it, but yeah, it's really catchy. I really like it, and I keep listening to it thinking, how do I like this? But I like it. I don't know why. I just do.
I love the idea of you being in this like locked in existential crisis about your newfound love of Asking Alexandria. I think that's amazing.
But no, anyway, back to the other album, the death metal album. Yeah, you know who does good death metal? Norway, Duncan. Norway.
When they're not burning churches, yeah, they're pretty good at the old death metal shit.
Yeah. They gave us Blood Red Throne. They gave us Dark Throne.
It's a lot of thrones here.
Game of Thrones. I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of thrones. All the thrones, really, Norway gave us. But I've recently been introduced to a Norwegian death metal band called Feleth. That's Feleth. And their new album, Depravity. It's very death metal sounds. It's death metal, but not as we know it. It's a very modern take on death metal. So that there are like old school influences in there, but it's mixed with a sound more akin to bands like Silosis or Gojira or The Faceless or something like that. Loads of rapid drumming, intricate fretwork, but most importantly, plenty of grooves, Duncan. Plenty of grooves.
Now you're bringing me in, Dave. You're bringing me in.
Yep. Well worth a listen. If you're into your death metal, Feleth are the band, and Depravity is the name of the album.
Awesome. Go you. Last one, once again, is a big Davey recommendation. American band. Technically, I want to say this was a late April release. And it was one of these classic Dave obscure. I really like this. I think you might as well. Abrams is the name of the band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the album's called Modern Ways, and this is fucking great. really great. Yeah. A band that kind of has this kind of alternative sort of like sludgy indie aesthetic to the sound, and like melodic abrasive vocals, and a lot of depth, like just a lot of depth, and like so this is a dense produced sound that's on here, you know what I mean? Like everything is like, it's like a wall of sound but with definition, but like really listenable, like really listenable. I went back to this once again many times, and it's an album which just lets itself sprawl. Like this is an album that I would akin myself to lying on a sun lounger, Dave. It's like arms and legs flailed out over the side, spilling it everywhere. It feels like that, you know. It is not in any, unlike the other releases that we kind of mentioned where I'm like that, this feels focused, determined, like it almost feels like certain albums there's been a lot of thought into position of songs, and you know the flow. This is an album that just lets itself groove out and gets longer by the end. Like all the short length songs are all in the first half, and then you're going from like 3.5 minute songs like through the first 4 or 5 to essentially like 5 and 6 minute songs from like track 7 onwards. Just a great one. It's got a kind of oxymoronic sort of style of production in that it's dirty, but it's also quite clean as well. Like you can make out everything that's played quite well. Really liked it. I think these guys are American. I want to say Colorado. I'll have that in the back of my head because I did a bit of Googling. But I can't stress it enough. Another one of these classic Dave picks that you just hit the nail on the head. How did you stumble across these guys? Spotify. Is that another Spotify deal?
No, I think someone shared that on my Facebook page, or shared it on Facebook, and I saw someone was listening to it. I thought, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Checked it out and was like, oh yeah, I'm digging this. Kind of, it's got sludge moments, it's got kind of stonery moments in there. Kind of picking up some like chaos and kind of a little bit of torch in there as well, but really cool album, and it's one I went back to quite a lot actually. I think it came out on the 1st of May, that one.
Oh, well,
so you're still
yeah, there we go.
May releases.
Obeyed the brief after all. Well done.
There you go.
Well done, Duncan, for following the rules.
There we go. That's all mine. Are you anymore? Is that you? No.
Nothing that quantifies for a metal podcast. So
okay, excellent. Nice. So that's our album recommendations.